which is about design guidelines. Good evening, Diana.
Good evening, council members. Let's see.
Thank you. I know.
Okay.
Can you please take your conversations outside so we can continue?
Right. So, here we are talking about family-friendly design guidelines at last.
Chief, is there any way you can ask people to clear?
Down the stairs?
It's very difficult to hear. Thank you.
So this
Thank you, Chief. Yes. Intimidation
Flash that badge.
proceeds as we sit here. Ridiculous.
Okay, so this is a proposed new section of the Emeryville Design Guidelines, plus some additions to the existing general residential section that applies to all residential development. So what led up to this? The current design guidelines were adopted in 2010, and it has a residential section that includes one family-friendly design guideline. In 2011, the city hired MIG to do a report on what families need, and they found that part of what families need is family-friendly residential design. The next year, the Economic Development and Housing Division did a report on affordable family housing design, and they made a checklist out of that and used it in the request for proposals for the 3706 San Pablo Family Residential Affordable Project. And that worked so well that they proposed to put these ideas into the Emeryville Design Guidelines so they can apply to all the units, including the market rate units. And the 2013 planning regulations include a bonus for family-friendly housing. So there's been some review of the draft. We first brought it to the Planning Commission in 2013, and they sent us off to get some review by architects. So we had 2 affordable family housing architects to comment on the draft pro bono. We used their ideas. And as part of the housing element process, we had an affordable housing developers roundtable, and they said that a family-friendly design guidelines would be helpful to them. And we also hired a multifamily housing architect, Arnold Mamarella, who's here to answer any questions you might have, to comment on the guidelines and illustrate them. And he works mostly on market rate housing, so we have both points of view. We brought it back to the Planning Commission early this year, and they gave us some comments. We took it to the Housing Committee, and they gave us some comments. And we brought all that back to the Planning Commission in April, and they recommended approval with one additional provision about access from units to open space, which is one of the 2 things that's on the dais, and we'll talk about more about that later. And of course, you all recall the recent joint City Council Planning Commission study session, wherein some of the council members and planning commissioners called for smaller communities centered around common open space within large projects. So that's how we got to this, to here, what the process has been. So what's in this thing? The residential section, the general residential section that applies to all residential development, we're proposing some new provisions. The ones about site and building design are, let's put the mailboxes on the paths from the main pedestrian entry to the units so people will have more social interaction. Provide community multi-purpose room in projects with 30 or more units. Break up long corridors and define the entrances to the different apartments with lighting and articulation. Provide efficient access, this is from the Planning Commission, from units to the open space and visual connections from the halls and stairs to exterior space. And in this same provision that section that applies to all residential development and unit design, as much as possible, let's have multiple exposures and shallow units and living areas on the exterior walls so that they can get more light and air into the unit, where in the parts of the unit that are important. The glass should look onto exterior spaces, and there should be shading on the south and west, and transition spaces between units and open space. There should be kitchen ventilation, either cross ventilation through windows or a fan to the outside. Let's have closets and pantries for units with 2 or more bedrooms. Closed stair risers, and show furniture in the plans for planning approval so that we can make sure that there's room for the furniture and circulation. Now, the new section, the family-friendly section, which currently only applies to bonus units but may soon apply to all or some 2 and 3 bedroom units. The part about site and building design, provide units with 2, 3, or more bedrooms. Provide a variety of unit types. You can mix multi-story and one-level units. Relate the units well to streets and open spaces, and there's a diagram about that. Put as many units as possible next to open space areas that are landscaped for play, gathering, and quiet respite. Provide ample play areas visible from homes with a variety of age-appropriate equipment. And visible places where preteens and teens will want to gather. And this is from the May 2nd meeting, the underlined part. In larger projects, such as over 100 units, divide the projects into smaller communities centered around common open space, where residents have exclusive access to their common and circulation areas. So we added those words to the existing guideline in the draft. Family parking should be near halls and elevators, and if you have a parking lift, you should not have to back up one car out to get to the other car. Provide more bicycle parking than the code requires, with space for longer family bicycles and trailers. And the laundry, you can have in-unit laundry or a common laundry room or both. We prefer in-unit laundry for 3 or more bedroom units. Also in this family-friendly section about unit design, the door to a unit should lead into a transition space, not directly into the middle of a room. Provide an indoor space for tricycles, strollers, outdoor toys, things like that. There should only be 1 master suite. 2 master suites is great for roommates. Provide at least 2 full baths in 3 bedroom units. Separate sleeping areas from living areas. In 2-level units, they should be on separate floors, except where a den could serve as a bedroom. As I was going through the drawings yesterday, I realized that the drawings contradicted the text, so we added this text. Provide access from each bedroom to a bathroom without going through living areas. Provide a bathtub. And in 2-level units, there should be at least a half bath on the living floor. Dining and living areas should each have enough room for the furniture, seating for all the household members, and circulation. Provide windows to allow supervision of children outdoors. The hallways in the unit should be wide and well lighted so children can play in them. It doesn't say you have to have a hallway, but if you have one, it should be like this. Provide spaces that can change use as children grow, study, den, music, whatever. Provide soundproofing between the ceilings and floors more than the building code requires. And design for infant and toddler safety, like for instance making sure that it's possible to put locks on the windows so that children don't fall out. So this is what Mr. Mammarella did. He gave us 3 drawings of units that are not family friendly and 7 drawings of units that are. So, let's see. The top left unit has 2 master suites. The living area is small, and the residents would not put a dining table where it's shown because it would block circulation. The entry is into the kitchen. There's no stroller storage, there's no flex space, and there's no balcony. The top right unit, you have to go, if you're in the left bedroom, you have to go through the living room to get to the bathroom. The balcony is at a bedroom, which doesn't really help with the family space. The circulation looks better in this drawing because they made the table small and stuck it in a corner. And other than the bedroom closets, there's no storage. In the lower unit, even though there's 3 bedrooms, the living area is still just as small as the others, especially the kitchen looks even smaller. So it was not easy for him to come up with bad examples, but he managed to do it. So about the one-level family-friendly unit plans, all of these units have just one master suite. They have living areas with space for full-size furniture and circulation. They have direct access between the bedrooms and the bathrooms, and there's a foyer or other transition space at the entry, a place to put strollers, and pantries. Example A has a balcony and a bay that increases light into the living room. Example B below is deeper, but increases light by placing the living area on the end with a partial corner. Example C increases, which is upper right, increases the living area to go with the increase in bedrooms. And example D has a big eat-in kitchen at the patio. And I'm sure there's more that you could say about these, but I won't. So here are the 2-level family-friendly units. In example E, which is shown up and down to the left, a bay in the master bedroom provides a roof over a balcony off the dining room. Example F, upper right, the ground floor, you see a room that says G, that is a flex room. It looks like it's furnished as a study, it could be a den, could be different uses. This 3-bedroom unit has an in-unit laundry. In both of those units, the bedrooms are all on a separate floor from the living areas. Example G has 4 bedrooms, and one of them could be used as a den, and it's on the first floor. So it gives you some different options for these examples. So let's look again at the 2 3-bedroom flats that we've looked at before and just compare them. Actually, the desirable unit is fewer square feet, a little bit, but it has a lot more living area. The balcony is off the living area. The hallway is wider. There's a little sort of flex space next to the balcony that has lots of light. And the entry is into a foyer. So those are illustrations of what we mean by family-friendly units. So staff recommends adoption of the resolution and the attached revised new pages of the Emeryville Design Guidelines and revised pages and new pages, the revised general residential section and the new family-friendly section. And replacing 2 of those pages with the 2 that are on the dais. Page 66, Guideline J46, dividing projects into smaller communities centered around common open space. And page 67, Guideline 53, bedrooms on a separate floor from the living area except where a den could serve as a bedroom. So that concludes my report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Diana?
Or for Mr. Mamarella.
All right, well, this is a public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing in case anybody wants to speak. John?
Hi, John Bowders, resident. I just had one comment. I wanted to appreciate the process for this and strongly supportive of these amended guidelines that are before you and ask you to adopt them. I just wanted to go on record. The language is, obviously these are guidelines and the language is helpful, but on J50 in particular, it speaks to in-unit laundry or common laundry areas, and it expresses a preference for in-unit laundry if there's 3 or more bedrooms. And I understand, being in a family that lived in a 1-bedroom house with lots of kids, why there would be a preference for those things. I just want to provide one piece of context that in the scope of doing affordable developments, there is a maximum square footage for a unit in order to get tax credits on that unit, and so developers in affordable complexes generally disfavor in-unit laundry for affordable developments because it eats up floor space and it ends up shrinking the size of bedrooms and family spaces for those families. So just to keep that in mind, but we very much support this and hope that you'll adopt it. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
I was just told by those wonderful small business people that care so much about Emeryville that I had to leave my city hall, is what they just told me out there in the foyer. It's kind of interesting. No, that's not going to happen. I'll leave my city hall when I want to leave, but I won't be told to leave my city hall, just so everybody knows. They said a lot of other choice things as well, a lot of sort of mixed language. Okay, I'd like to talk here for a second about J54, separate sleeping areas from living areas. and you can see that's enumerated, or there's called out in the first undesirable sketch. But what we want to make sure is what's understood here is that what you're talking about here with this provision is that bedrooms doors to bedrooms are directly into living spaces. That's undesirable. So we want to make sure that that's very clearly spelled out here. And the reason is because you will have before you very soon a huge residential project, the Marketplace development, and that development is chock-a-block with this undesirable characteristic. I'm telling you right now because I've seen the unit plans, the floor plans, and virtually every single one, with the exception of the townhouses at that development proposal, would be called undesirable. It has bedrooms right off of the live spaces. So it sort of behooves you to really make sure that you make that really clear, and it's sort of not 100% clear it's here, and I think you should spend a little bit of time talking about that, because we're going to be running into a problem right off with the developers of the Marketplace development and with their project. Their project is, like I said, could never be passed if you adopt these guidelines. You'll have to say no to them. And you better make sure that it's, it's very clear, and that's all I'd like to say. Thank you very much.
That a direct order to the council?
Hang on a second. Is there any other public comment? All right. Public comment on the public hearing is closed. Council discussion. Nora,
Move the resolution.
Did you have a comment you wanted to make?
I think John Bowder's comment about the in-unit laundry is a very applicable one, because we are concerned with affordable housing. And John, come up here and let us know if you suggest any change to that wording that would help us with the clearly delineate that there's an option on affordable housing to not have the
thanks for the question. I think, these are guidelines.
Right,
so they're not, they just guide the planning director when he works with an applicant for a development. I don't have a specific proposal for change in mind. I think if you were to make any changes, it may not be appropriate to put it in this provision. And it may actually, Charlie will probably know, it may actually be elsewhere in the planning guidelines that that a developer is to consider other factors that may constrain or limit the applicability of other guidelines. So something that's, because
see that, Charlie?
The way J50 is written, it says provide ample in-unit or common laundry areas. So there's a choice written into that.
it's the last sentence in that section that I'm looking at.
We went around and around on this. Originally, the guidelines, actually, the planning regulations in the development bonus system, where we have the development bonus for family-friendly units, explicitly says they must have in-unit laundries. And after talking to various affordable housing developers and market rate developers, architects, the ones that Diana mentioned, and I'm not sure if she included this in her presentation, but the Planning Commission also did a bus tour of some affordable family-friendly projects in Oakland and Berkeley, and it was a mix between laundries in the units versus common laundries. I think a lot of people, developers and architects and residents, prefer common laundries because it allows them a place where they can gather and get together with their neighbors rather than just staying in their units to do their laundry. I think the idea was that in a 3-bedroom unit, you're going to more likely to have a large family with the mom or dad, juggling a bunch of kids and trying to do the laundry at the same time, and it'd be more conducive for their family to probably have the laundry right there than to have to schlep off to some other part of the project. But it's not, as Mr. Bowder says, it's a guideline. It's not a requirement. So it can all be reviewed on a case-by-case basis.
But your point is well taken, John.
Thank you.
I'd move the resolution.
I second.
All right. It's a public hearing. Let's call the roll.
Councilmember Asher,
Aye.
Councilmember Donahue,
Aye.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Aye.
and Mayor Atkin.
Aye. This takes us to 7.1, which is pertaining to the RFP for to continue the Poet Laureate program. And tonight, what's before us is the RFP panel, and I'd like to nominate Sarah Kapinski, Joyce Jenkins, and Rick Tejada Flores to serve.
Second.
Mayor Atkin, I don't know if you want to do this separately, but may I note there's also proposals for 2 alternates?
True.
Do you want to include those in your motion?
Yes, I include the, in my motion, I include the suggested alternates.
All right. Just for the record, that's Kaya Oakes as the outside literary arts professional and Sharon Wilshire as the community representative alternate.
Thank you. You found it faster than I did.
I already had it up.
Move the resolution.
Is there, it was seconded, right? Yeah, okay. Public comment?
Thank you. I'm sorry. The reason why I called out is because it seemed like you were